It's another political show, and this evening we're going to be talking about a disturbing incident that happened in Dumba community of Borno State, where 40 farmers were brutally murdered in cold blood. And to discuss that with me is Mustafa and Warif. You guys are welcome to the show.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
So yeah, these 40 guys that were killed, this is a disturbing trend. This is not the only time this happens. This is happening a lot in the north. And the north has security issues. And in the north, Nigeria borders are not secure. The military is under fire. I heard we'll talk about it later, but the military accidentally killed 16 vigilantes trying to get criminals and terrorists. So it seems like we have no control over our border and our security is bad and it's undermining the whole West Africa and is undermining Nigeria. So these 40 guys, I thought they were killed by militant groups, right? Islamic, right?
Yeah. They
Yeah.
were killed by
And
suspected Boko
Boko
Haram
Haram.
militants.
Boko Haram, yeah. And these guys are operating with impunity. And one of the things that I know is that a couple of years ago, AFRICOM, which is funded by the US, they gave millions of dollars to Nigeria, like almost like close to $1 billion. And a lot of that money was redirected towards terrorist groups. So even though we don't have proof that the US is funding terrorist groups, we know that American money is funding terrorist groups in Nigeria, and we can reasonably say that maybe the U.S. wants to keep Nigeria unstable, and they're using Boko Haram, Al Qaeda, ISIL, who are also involved in a lot of these killings, to destabilize Nigeria, as well as Fulanis and co. who are killing Christians all over the country. I didn't realize that in since 2000, I think it's what year is it? Since 2000, I'm not sure the exact year, but almost 70,000 Christians have been killed in Nigeria. That's a crazy number. I'll get the exact, I think it's since
That's that
2020 or
figure.
something. Yeah, that's crazy. 62,000. And nobody talks about it on the news. So it's clear that within Nigeria, there's a systematic Islamic extremism. And I'm not against Muslims. Islam is a great religion. But it seems like powerful men and maybe Americans are using Islamic terrorists to bring Nigeria down. And I want to say that whoever these terrorists are, they're not true Islamic people. They're using God's name for violence. What do you think, Falabi? Yeah.
I agree with you. Most of them are not, they are not true Islamists. Most of
No.
them are just, they are territorial attacks. They are
Yeah.
basically fighting for territory. Because I
And a
had,
lot of these guys are from Nigeria, I think. Yeah,
yes,
go
most
ahead.
of them are from Niger, some are from Chad, because
Yeah.
the community where it happened has Lake Chad Basin as its border. So basically, I think the farmers had been warned that their farming had encroached on some people's land, but they persisted. Meanwhile, their farming is to keep them eating and feeding and keep them alive. But
Yes.
instead, they attacked the civilians, which is why I have a problem. Civilians are defenseless human beings.
No.
Why would
This
you
is not
attack
Islam. This
civilians?
is not Islam. This is greed. And
It's greed,
also,
exactly. It's greed.
what is happening, as far as I'm concerned, France and the US are laundering money and giving it to people in Nigeria and Chad who don't have land and are desperate to destabilize the northern border of Nigeria to keep Nigeria in control, to keep them in control politically, which is why guys like Tinubu have to walk carefully because they don't want to piss off America. But it's clear that this is what they're doing because they're angry about France having power. I mean, not France. China and Russia have power in Burkina Faso and Mali and what's the other country? Burkina Faso, Mali, and what's the third one?
Mali,
Uh, yeah, Burkina
Senegal,
Faso
Burkina Faso and Niger. Mali,
and
Burkina
Niger.
Faso,
Niger.
and
So what
Niger.
they're trying to do is keep that area unstable. Same thing in Mozambique. There are Al Qaeda and stuff. And in South Africa, it was found that there were Libyan people training to be terrorists. So to me, I don't have proof, but wherever there are terrorists, there must be money. And we know that the money that rules this world is the US dollar. So one way or another, the US, along with corrupt African politicians, are keeping our countries destabilized. And this problem is big in Nigeria. 62,000 people in Nigeria. Even it's probably 70,000 now because I was in July. It was 62,000. 70,000 Nigerians have been killed by militant Islam. And the Americans get their cake and eat it too because they destabilize the country. Then they can say, you see, Muslim people are bad. So that's why we need to fight Muslim people. So what they're doing is they're killing two birds with one stone. They're destabilizing Africa and they're making Islam look bad. What do you think, Warif? Yeah, yeah.
Well, like you said, our the Nigerian border is very porous.
Yeah.
Now, what federal government should ask themselves or what they should think about doing? How do we curtail this border? How do we get those people that are into the killing of these farmers? And you cannot stop the farmers because that's where they get their daily income, their daily bread and all those things.
Yeah.
If the federal government can curtail the border, they can trace those people coming in. But our border is just like that. Anybody can walk in, walk out. There's no check and balance on these borders. Now, the another thing again, the what we call the telecommunication companies in Nigeria, if they want to curtail or fish out these terrorists, they make phone calls, they communicate with people. Why can't they track these
Oh, they
calls
can easily take them
and
out.
locate these people?
They can take them out, yeah.
But instead, federal government has the power, but there are so many questions, so many question marks there. Because I cannot just really understand how these people, because without a proper communication, they cannot carry out their attack on
Yeah.
people. So if the
And this is an attack on
telecommunication company,
fellow Islamic people. These are people who are northern people. This is
yeah,
not Yoruba people attacking them or Igbo people. This is
yeah,
people from Nigeria attacking the northern states. And the sultans and these guys, they should be talking to the military. There need to be military police in those bordering areas. You don't have to defend the border, but you have to defend those villages. We have to spend our money. We have oil money. We're rich. Everything
mhm,
did. This type of behavior cannot be allowed to happen. Look at what those countries did. Military took over in Nigeria and Mali and Burkina Faso. And also they brought in Russian mercenaries. But Nigeria doesn't want to bring in Russia or China to help because we want to continue with our rubbish with America, who wants to see us fall. What do you think, Warif? Then we'll go to Afolabi.
you see this thing, and there are lots of politics in it.
Yeah.
Okay, now and I believe there are some sabotage in it because even if the military wants to
So sorry, you
attack,
also believe that Nigerian politicians are involved or businessmen? Maybe. Yeah.
yes, sure, because like somebody was saying that to get one AK-47 there is very expensive, and I believe there are some other weapons that are better than the what's it called, the AK-47. Now, for them to get those things, there are people supplying them these arms, which is business to them. But instead, they are using it against humanity. And one other thing I don't really get about this, and what's it called, this Boko Haram or Islamic group, is that the people they are even killing more, I believe most of them are even Muslims. So what is
yeah, they're
their
Muslims. They're Muslims.
yeah, so what do they want? What is it that they want to take over those areas? They want to pin their flag there and be controlled. So the whole thing is just very
Yeah,
difficult. Federal government, they have a lot of
to
work
me,
to do.
they're getting paid by Nigerian businessmen and also Western people who want to keep Nigeria and that they want to keep the Sahel unstable. They're not taking land. They're not like the Fulani guys who are taking land within Nigeria. These are people who just come and kill. This is terrorism to keep Nigeria in check. What do you think, Afolabi? Yeah.
I agree with you. Basically, they're doing this thing to keep Nigeria in check. And I think one of the reasons why I think this thing persists is that our military architecture and security strategy is defective. Trying to secure our borders centrally may not be very effective. I think the clamor for state police and arming, if you can arm some of these farmers, give them sophisticated arms and get them trained, I think it will be more effective because the military is overwhelmed. The allocation and resources for the military is not sufficient to get them to go to some of these places.
And the reason that is because Nigeria's economy is supplying the West with all these money that we owe for loans. We don't have money for electricity. We don't have money to defend people in Akure and those parts of Nigeria where Fulani people are stealing land. We don't have money to stop kidnappings. And on top of that, our government is involved in all of it because they are greedy. What do you think, Afolabi? Then we'll go to Kunle. Yeah.
Absolutely. You got it right there. So I feel the military architecture should improve by allowing some of these indigenous guys like vigilantes, the armed. They understand the topography and the terrain of these places. Some of them, they are very difficult to police. The military
to me, they should be inducted into the military so that at least they should be inducted, because if they're not in the military, they can go astray. But they need to be inducted in the military.
The allocation for the military, the resources is very small, is meager. Yeah. They don't have enough resources.
We need to spend money on our military for our defense, not like America to attack other countries.
All right, guys, I'm in.
What do you think,
I have a bad picture. Sorry.
Don't worry about the picture. Is
Okay.
hiding your ugly face. I'm kidding. It's a joke. Fine boy,
I'm
you cut your
super
hair. Don't worry.
handsome.
I have beard on my face. I'm just joking. Don't mind him. You're a fine boy. Don't worry. So what do you think? Yeah. Or is hiding your face from
Yes.
Boko Haram?
In
Go
the
ahead. Go
Sambisa
ahead.
forest. I'm
Yeah, go
wearing my
ahead.
camouflage gear.
I see
It's
you,
not
Kule. I
camouflage,
see
so
you.
it's just a
I see
red shirt.
you. I see you. Go ahead. What are your thoughts on this? About Nigeria
Yes.
is killing, not Nigeria, but bandits on those borders are killing civilians in Nigeria, Muslim
Well,
civilians.
for years, we've had problems not only under this Tinubu regime. I haven't been updated on the Buhari regime as well, where we had large amount of embezzlement of funds that was designated for weapons to fight these people, and
Yeah,
you
sorry.
had
Very
plenty
quickly,
of scandals.
I said that earlier. I'm sorry to cut in front of you. The
Okay.
U.S. gave billions of no, $1 billion or more to Nigeria to fight this. To me, it was money laundering to actually help those people. Go ahead. That's my theory. But
Yeah.
whatever it is, that money was lost and rerouted.
No,
Go
we
ahead.
know how the money was lost. It was stolen. I mean, it was mismanaged. What's the official word that they call it when they say mishandling of state funds? That's what they call it. They don't want to call
Misappropriation.
it.
Yeah.
Misappropriation.
That's the
Appropriation of
word.
funds.
That's the word. Misappropriation. So,
Yeah.
so that's what's happened, and I very much doubt that there's going to be any improvement under a regime that's being led by an alleged drug trafficker.
Yeah.
I don't have very much faith in someone like that who's suddenly going to start protecting these people, because some of them are also linked to the drug trade, and specific drug trade being opium, which is that of Afghanistan and the Middle East, and we're a major couriering
And they're
route.
bringing it
I'm
into
not saying that
Nigeria
he's
and taking it
involved.
to South Africa and other countries.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's involved in it. That would be absurd.
No,
But
no,
I'm
no, no,
saying
no.
that someone that's been so closely
But he's
accused
powerless
of
to fight
something
it
like
because
that.
they have something on him. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not ideal. It's not ideal that someone with that kind of background is going to deal with some kind of issues like this. Is there a conflict of interest in this? I mean, maybe there isn't, maybe there is. I'm not alleging anything. I'm theorizing. And these are the kind of reasons why you have to vet your leaders. The military is really, really under a lot of pressure. And also they've had issues of attacking the civilians. We have the history of the coups that they've had,
Yeah.
and when the civilian government becomes overly dysfunctional,
The
then we
military
repeat the
jumps in.
cycle of military government for
Yeah.
decades again before we get back to it. And then we have some other idiot that starts buying helicopters and private jets. And then we have to
Who's that? Is
shut
that
them down
Tinubu?
again.
Is that Tinubu? Who's buying the helicopters and jets?
No, I'm calling no names. I'm calling no names. You can
Madam,
make of it
no,
what you want.
Madam Tinubu. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
That's the history of Nigerian politics, which is why they don't like to teach politics and recent history. We like to say we want to teach history. We don't need to learn about Safawa dynasty of 2,000 years ago. We need modern contemporary history. Nigeria in the 40s, the 60s, how it came to be, how it was formed.
Yeah. Well, did you know? Britain and U.S. helped fund the war against Biafra. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, the Biafra War, the Benin War. These are the kind of things in history that we need to go and study. When we did history in secondary school, we're doing Safawa dynasty of 2,000 years ago.
Queen Amina.
Yes, So, I mean, it's a welcome thing that this government said they want to teach history, but what area of history must be modern world history and contemporary politics, not just the nonsense we do in social studies.
I'm a history professor. I'm a history professor.
In
In the 1980s, the CIA signed Tinubu after a drug deal. That's the history we need to teach. I'm just joking.
Well, I mean, there are people that have written books on this subject.
Or Nigeria helped the British kill Ken Saro-Wiwa. Those types of things, man. Yeah.
Well, people have written articles. We need to get people to come and write books. I'm not sure they want, if they want, they can write it in such a way that they don't necessarily put them in trouble like Delhi has
I'll
done.
write it, and I'll be living somewhere. I don't know where. I'll be living in Russia when I write it. Because if I write it in America,
Farotimi's book
if I
will
write it in
eventually
America,
become
the American government will send me back to Nigeria to die if I write it in America. I'm
yeah.
serious. Yeah.
Farotimi's book will eventually come a history book that will
Oh
be
yeah,
compulsory.
yeah.
I
I'm
don't
gonna
know if
buy
it'll
it.
be in our lifetime
I'm
or in
gonna
our
buy it. Yeah,
grandchildren's lifetime. It will be a compulsory history book.
yeah.
I can
Okay.
assure you, if we still
Thank you,
have
Kunle.
history and this country has progressed.
So we'll come back to you, Kunle. Thank you very much. So far, a great show. What are your thoughts, Saeed?
Yeah, on the terrorist issue on the northern part of our country, I think there is this quote. I don't know. I don't know how true it is that Abacha. They said Abacha said that if an unrest is prolonged for over
More than
24 hours
24
or
hours.
the government is involved.
Well,
So
they have an
whatsoever is
Yes.
going
So
on,
they have the
whatever.
facilities to take it down. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So like whatsoever that is going on in the north, believe you me, there is some level of government official that is funding them, that is
France
backing
is
that are
them.
gaining
involved.
from it.
That is
Yes.
France. It's France. It's France.
Yeah, but France, but
so
also
if there is
France is giving money to Nigerian rulers to look the other way. Yeah, while they're
And
doing
they
it.
have
Yeah,
soldiers in the north training
yeah,
militants.
yeah. And that's why I hate to say this, Nigeria needs. Well, if Nigeria wants to stop this problem, they need to bring in Wagner from Russia. Those guys will end that very quickly. But Nigeria is not aligned with. Yeah.
the funny thing is that we have the soldiers, we have
Oh
the
no, we have the capability.
soldiers that can. Yeah,
But
we
to
have
equip them,
exactly the
modern
word I'm looking
equipment.
for.
Yeah.
Our soldiers are capable of squashing this Boko Haram and all these insurgents. So I have friends. I have friends that they are in the military that they are telling me categorically that it is a lot of sabotage is going on in the military
So,
that is stopping them from wiping all these Boko Haram people,
That's rubbish,
insurgents.
man. Yeah.
Oh,
and the
you
military, they
understand
work
me?
by
So,
order. If
like,
they want to move and their
there
generals
is
Chain of
tell
command.
them
absolutely,
not to
You
go, they
do what
can't
you're
go.
told.
yes,
Chain of
Yeah,
command.
yeah. So there is
yeah.
absolutely
Obey the
no
last order.
strategy or opinions we can give here that is going to change it. If our chief of staff or like what's the
Defense staff,
what
chief of
rank
the
is
chief of defense staff.
Tinubu holds, like the
Yeah.
chief of or the whole army people. There's this title that he has over all this. So if he's not ready to change, if he's not ready to squash Boko Haram, there is absolutely nothing we can do. So
Okay, now
it is at the moment it is just
thank you.
politicized.
Thank you. Now, on the other side, the next story, Nigerian military kills 16 civilians in Zamfara. They said they thought that they were gangs. They didn't think that they were Boko Haram or terrorists. They thought that they were gangs, and they killed 16
This,
vigilantes.
this, this is not the first time. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It happened
Yeah.
under Jonathan era.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
happened under Buhari era. Now it's happening now. So you can't tell me that this thing is a mistake. It's either
No,
it
they're
is
getting rid
either
of
Justify
they're
it
getting
is
rid
happens
of
in all
vigilantes.
combat.
They're getting rid of
it's too,
vigilantes because they don't
it's
want
two
If there
ways.
was a
vigilantes.
mistake, friendly fire can happen. If they discovered there was a mistake, they wouldn't have shot them if they knew they were the wrong people to shoot. So I
Yeah, but
think it was a
my
friendly
question,
fire.
Kule,
But you
I'm not
cannot
saying
just
that is the
open
opposite,
fire
but
if you're not sure.
Kule, what I'm trying to say
That's
is
what I'm
I'm not.
saying. It's an
Exactly. You cannot
incident.
just open fire.
So Kule, I'm not.
It's
Sorry,
two
who's going to
things. Let
say?
us say like it's two
So
things.
Kule, let me take a
Like
middle
it's
ground.
either their
Kule, let me take a middle
information.
ground. Let me
Is
take a
that
middle ground. I'm not
okay?
saying it's the case, but what if it's the case that the military itself is fighting vigilantes who are fighting all these terrorist groups too, and they make it look like it's a mistake? I'm not saying that's the case, but how do these high-level military guys kill so many civilians? And it wasn't just 16 civilians killed. A lot of civilians were injured. You see what I'm saying?
And
Yeah,
It's a
this is not
big
sometimes
the
when
mistake.
first
you
time this thing
attack
is
a
happening.
general area, you think you're fighting militants and you're actually fighting civilians,
Okay, so they need
maybe
to be
from the
more
wrong
careful.
body.
So in other words, that means that they're inept. They need to be more careful. They need to be focused on the border.
Even
Where
America has issues
okay, but
of
here's the
friendly
thing:
fire,
they need to
even
be
in modern
focused on.
warfare.
But here's the
Everyone does it.
problem. They're not containing ISIL and Al Qaeda and Boko Haram. They need to become more effective and start solving that problem. But meanwhile,
Yeah.
killing. They're not killing terrorists, but they're accidentally killing civilians. That means that they're inept.
even Israel has had IDF-friendly fire incidents.
Yeah, okay, but my question is, Kule, how is the
soldiers.
military doing right now with fighting the terrorism? Remember what we said, there's sabotage going on. So if they know that they
Yes,
don't
there
want
is
to,
sabotage.
so
I
they
remember when I did my NYSC, and there
yeah.
were some soldiers when I was in Eket, and they told me that they were in a platoon, and his platoon was completely wiped out. And he was saying that because they'd been sent on a mission and they were destined to be killed. And some of these, I think he said that part of it was they were stealing the money of the dead soldiers, the widow soldiers.
That's serious. Serious
Yeah.
problem.
But this was a while ago. This was around year 2000 that this sort of incidents were happening, and we're seeing it in newspapers. But I don't know how true they were. But
No,
a soldier actually told me this.
I don't blame. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. What are your thoughts, Falabi? Yeah.
Yes, to some extent, I think it was a failure of intelligence. Either the
Yeah.
intelligence was inaccurate or it was insufficient. This can lead to not being able to identify targets.
Yeah.
And then
Exactly. That's the point I'm trying to make.
civilians have
Exactly.
been mistaken. Civilians have been mistaken for insurgents, and as a result, they fire at the wrong people. Also, they may be limited technologically. Some of their equipment are obsolete. They need to get these things modernized and go for modern military drills. No,
and also, I'll give a warning to these guys that were killed. The guys that were killed were vigilantes. You can't take the law into your own hands. Once you start carrying machine guns and taking the law into your own hands, if the military don't know who you are, they will say that you are terrorists and groups. We have to be very careful in Nigeria.
Yes, I agree with you.
We have to be careful.
There can be some kind of collaboration between the military and the local.
The people that they killed were vigilantes with high weapon. If they got those weapons illegally, even though they're trying to help their villages, that's not the way to go. But it shows you just how much chaos Nigeria is in.
But they might have taken them from the dead enemies. I mean, sometimes they might have.
All I'm saying is that so it shows you there's a big problem, which goes back to what Warif said. These militias need to be certified by the military and inducted to the military to protect their homelands. What do you think, Warif? Then we'll go to Kunle. Yeah.
You see, attack on these guys, whether it's a mistake or not, once you are trying to attack these militants by air, you don't just use one jet fighter. Maybe you can use 2 or 3. And first and foremost, you don't just at your first approach, you don't just open fire. You have to go for maybe like a vigilance to know if these guys will open fire.
So you need people on the ground to give you reconnaissance information.
It's an operation. It's an operation. You cannot just when you are going, you just go once and finish people when you are not too sure. You like testing the water to know if these people are, if they are real Boko Haram member. Once they see any jet fighter, they open fire at once. But once you just display and try to threaten them and they don't open fire, you have to go and recheck again. Are these people really militants or they are what's it called, vigilantes?
I agree.
Yes. So for them to have open fire like that, they need to do really work. And again, you know, Boko Haram, they don't use air, they use foot soldiers. So they need to check all these things.
And also they use bombs which injured regular civilians who weren't fighting.
Anti-aircraft missiles, that's what they are very good at. So they have to really check all those things.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Kunle? Thank you, Warif. What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah, aside from moving on from that, I remember in a recent video I saw, these Boko Haram guys, they have M16s, they have US dollars, they have American-made, Western-made ordnance weapons.
Sophisticated ones.
They must be getting them from Western arms dealers.
Oh, yeah.
And those Western arms dealers must be having access through. And you see, when they're talking about the French and they're accusing the French of putting in a base, if they wanted anything from us, that base would be in the southeast where our oil is. That's not what they're looking for. They're looking for something up north. And what they're looking for is to still have a relevance in that area, not because
the Sahel region.
More than what the eyes can see.
Of us. But because of
and also in Nigeria, whether they say it or not,
that's why they don't like what we're doing.
Nigeria also has minerals in the north. We have minerals in the north on those borders.
They're not really interested in us because we know they can't take us like that. What they're interested in is being able to have a base in the Sahel. When they have a base in that Sahel region, then they're always able to bring arms in, bring weapons in, train, and continue to maintain whatever chaos that it is
Okay, but clearly, why don't they just do a deal with
those
Nigeria?
countries
Like, you remember
down.
Tinubu went to France. Why don't they just do with Nigeria, a deal with Nigeria and say, we want bases in Nigeria, don't disturb us? Why don't they just do that rather than killing our citizens? Yeah.
The killing is just becoming too much.
They
Well,
don't
the
need to
killing
kill
of
our
the city,
citizens because
who is it
Nigeria
really?
is in bed with France. So all they need to tell
The
is the Nigerian government.
the reason why they're killing our citizens. And remember that sometimes they even have some of these ISIS terror attacks in France that are very flashy, and so just to distract from what they're actually
Yes,
doing, so
and
that
also
you
to
don't actually
continue
know
the
who
war
is
against
responsible.
terrorism, which is also a moneymaker. Yeah.
Yes.
And also to sell arms. Because what happens is when these guys attack Nigeria, they will also sell arms to the Nigerian military to fight them. And they'll sell arms to those terrorists. So they're making money on both sides. This is how the white man thinks, man. They're very smart. Almost as smart as us.
That's a smaller picture. Yes, that's correct, but that's a smaller
see it
picture.
as
The
business.
bigger picture is
it's
for
a business.
France and francophone resources, especially which is a major crisis for them, is Niger's uranium, because France needs France and
you know what
Western
they say in
Europe.
Nigeria, Oton, that one is
Uranium
finished. They will never get that uranium. They will never get that uranium.
30% of France and Western Europe's uranium comes from Niger. 30%.
That one is over. That one is finished. Oton, like they said, it's finished. They'll never
these
get
are
it
the
back.
problems. Yeah. So that's why they need to have some kind of significance there, so that if there's anything they can do to give themselves a chance, because even if they wanted to assassinate this chap, they still need a base. They can't bring an aircraft carrier 20 miles off the coast of Borno and start
you mean to
flying
assassinate Traore? Traore.
Yeah. Or to have any kind of influence in the Sahel region. So once all their bases are gone, if Nigeria gives them an opportunity to have a base, then they're back to square one. Because one base is enough to cause.
So all I'm going to do is I'm going to pray that France loses, and we're going to pray for the Sahel countries. We're going to pray for Niger and Mali and Burkina Faso to be independent, and we pray that one day we follow their own example. What do you have to say, Saeed?
Yeah. So I think we are so lost in Nigeria to the aspect that we don't even know that some things is not even meant to be happening in Nigeria, that we've taken it as a norm. Okay, the thing I'm trying to say is, do you know that it is absolutely wrong for Nigerian army, to be flying some sort of their airplanes in Nigeria,
civilian territory?
bombing, yes, exactly. That's what, like, why would it's not as if there is a war going on in Nigeria in our ground. These are something we don't even need air support. Can you imagine something? The whole of Ajana or Lekki now, there is a terrorist here or something, or instead,
and you bomb the whole area.
Do you think the military will be on ground wiping? Like, they will make sure they clear the whole community or the whole local government.
The truth is that air support is very important. If you watch the way,
but you can't use air support.
Except when you are sure when it's a war.
Warif, once you bring the military hold on, let me finish. You guys, let me finish. Warif, in America, you can't use military to solve a civilian problem. They're not going after terrorists. You have to use. So then that means that they need to give the police air, because once you use the military, that's martial law, and it's almost like a coup. So what I'm saying is that for them to use the military, they have to say on TV that it's a martial state now and it's a state of emergency. You can't just be using them anyhow. But I agree. Continue, Warif. So let Warif continue the point.
Because the reason why they do that, because the Nigerian police, they are not up to the task.
Yes,
if the Nigerian police are well funded and up to the task, the military, they wouldn't come out except when there's a full-blown war. That's when the military can get in. All this, like what you are right. But because the police are not up to the task, that's why they use the military.
And also, Warif, by using air support, it leads to more civilian casualties by using air support. So to me, they need to infiltrate on the ground and use ground forces, use tanks. The police can have tanks.
Yes, different tactics.
And use missiles.
But there's something I cannot really understand. How can Boko Haram be overrunning Nigerian troops and the Nigerian police also? And that means there is something
sabotage.
There's something fishing.
Sabotage.
When they even there are some things they don't even come out to tell us. Maybe they are going for an attack. They don't come out to the public to announce in the public that this is what they want to do. Before you know it, this suspected Boko Haram or Boko Haram members, they'll be aware of it, and before you know, they attack the military. So the whole thing is very serious.
It's messed up. It's messed up.
Federal government, they need to,
So,
yes.
So is Nigerian government trying to tell us that they don't know how this arms is coming into Nigeria, or they can't trace the money, or they can't trace the financier? You know, I mean, these are something that it is, even if you check some of David Hundeyin investigative reports, and even Fisayo Shoyombo's another investigation. These guys, they already identified how they bring in arms in Nigeria through our ports, through our
somebody's getting paid off. Somebody's getting paid off.
You understand? So for people, for investigative journalists, like individuals like that, to have such information, now imagine DSS, the kind of information they already have that they are not acting upon. So let me know, like, I don't see it as a joke.
Thank you, this is a good show, but we're going to have to continue part 2 of this, and we'll talk about the kidnappings in Nigeria and everything. We have about 5 more minutes. Kunle, I know Kunle is Mr. Talk, the lawyer talker. So talk for 2 minutes, and then our follow-up will take us out. Kunle, it's your spotlight now. I'm just kidding you.
Well, okay. So we've had when we look at
also, you can give us some more points. You don't have to close us out, because our follow-up will close us out. You have any more points or arguments or insight?
I mean, when I look at my issues with the French government, I always say, please don't look at it as me criticizing the French people. We have an equally dysfunctional government that's equally corrupt, as does America, as does Nigeria. We all have. So whenever I'm saying these things, nobody should look at it as I'm making a personal attack on you because you are French.
No, it's a lie. You have a French girlfriend. You don't want her to dump you tonight. You have a French girlfield. Sorry, mon cher. I like you. I don't like Macron. I like you.
Fifi, I will give you a croissant when I get
you. My snow bunny, I love you. Okay, continue to late.
And we're just realizing with October 7th, just how phony our governments, our Western governments have been. We've seen how much lies have been exposed to the BBC, and how much Rupert Murdoch has over the power of these. So next
is Elon Musk.
Factors.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's why they're being exposed. That's why TikTok has to shut down, because TikTok has exposed an awful lot of lies to a lot of Westerners. Now, a lot of people now understand a bit more. They understand why are there so many immigrants in our country.
So you know what I say? Thank you to Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Thank you to Trump and Elon Musk for coming up.
And rip them off. So they've now run to another place that they know won't be bombed or ripped off, which is the country that did the bombing and the ripping off.
Yes,
and slowly people start dawning on them about some of the madness and basically everything that they accuse the enemy of doing, they're actually doing it.
It's a projection. It's
what they do. Everything that they've accused the other side of doing, that is what they're doing.
That's what the British and the Americans
Israel has become like a story of animal farm, from being the oppressed to become the oppressed.
Very quickly, Kule,
the UK and the US government.
Kule, very quickly, Macron said that
problems.
Sorry, very quickly. Macron said that the African countries should thank France for protecting them for all these years. Can you imagine that?
Yeah. So
Macron said that Africa.
Why wouldn't he say such? Why wouldn't he say such? Because which of our African presidents?
Thank you for stealing our resources.
Which of our African presidents is going to claim a lie or call him bluff?
No, don't mind that.
Yeah, I mean, when you bomb a country and steal its resources, the people are not going to want to live there. They're going to emigrate, and you're going to have a bunch of poor people living together and hating each other because they look different, and then you have the world we are in, and that's where we are.
So, Kule, we'll continue with this on Thursday. Afolabi, your last thoughts, then take us out. You guys, this show is brilliant. We get better every time. This is focused on Nigeria. We're global politics, but today we're focusing on Nigeria. We want to tell people we love Nigeria. Keep watching our show. Last thoughts, Afolabi, then take us out.
Yeah, basically, I feel
like, share, and subscribe, please.
Basically, I feel when things like this happen, whoever it is that made the mistake should be held accountable.
Yeah,
it's just like a surgeon that makes a mistake and someone dies. You can lose your license. So most of these military personnel, they should be court-martialed and they should be held accountable. I never hear of any court-martialing or accountability. So
Yeah,
I'm
but
basically
they're playing politics with
Court-martial,
Nigerian human life.
Yeah.
They do court-martial. There's a lot of good things that do happen in the military. I do
And
respect.
we're gonna focus on those two more. We'll do more research because
Yeah.
we don't want to talk
I
about
have so
Nigerian
much
military.
respect for any man that tells you that he's going to face bullets to
Oh no,
maintain
soldiers
the
are very
idea of
special
a
people.
Nigeria.
okay,
we need
guys.
Africa.
Guys, we have to head out.
It's even
Oh, yeah,
more honorable.
so
It's
take it out.
the most. It's
Yeah,
more
it's on
honorable than
that
any
note.
political office.
It's on that.
Thank you,
note
guys.
that we-
Beautiful. Go ahead.
It's on that note that we round
They are
up
the
this
true
evening.
honorables.
Wonderful political show from Mustafa Saeed, Warif, and Kule Williams. We're out.
Also, up Nigerian military, Navy, Air Force, Marines, everybody. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Yeah.